recording is in progress, Mr. Uchacz.
Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Ted, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
It's been so long. It was nice. We chatted briefly just the other night, but man, it was so. I was like, I have all this list of people I wanted to talk to, and you're on that list.
It's been years.
Yeah,
literally years before.
25 years, maybe. I don't know.
Something like that. University, right? Like,
yeah.
Left university, went our own ways, did our own things.
We all do, and that's okay. That's life. But for the people checking in on this, who are eavesdropping in on this conversation, you're my friend Ted Uchacz, and we know each other from
Sask Hall,
University of Saskatchewan.
Yeah. My
first year was there in 1994. That's when I moved there, and you were the Sask Hall president. What a big shot you were.
I didn't feel like a big shot, but it was enjoyable. It was a good time. I quite enjoyed the dorm life. The dorm life was fun. Made a lot of connections, met a lot of great people.
It was a really fun time to be there. I think, like, especially with COVID, I think of kids who are there now. You know, they're missing out on so much, right? Just that sort of growing together and really doing a lot of really stupid things together.
Absolutely. And, well, my son missed out on his graduation because he graduated a couple years ago, right in the midst of COVID, right? So there wasn't an actual grad celebration for Zach. So,
you know, I talked to, if you remember, Connie Kirk. I interviewed her actually a few months ago. She's my age. She was in res first year with me, first 2 years or something like that. And she actually went back to work with the res people as sort of a counselor for them. And she had said, no, it's changed, res. It's not like it was.
Different atmosphere altogether.
A lot more, probably for the best. I don't know, but it's changed. But it was a good time anyways. And like some of my best friends ever were from there. And a lot of guys I still keep in touch with. Like Mike Bolianitz, and we're still really good friends. Mike Kundle too. Who else? Those two guys for sure. A few other Sask Hall guys I stay in touch with. Gord Brown.
I'm in touch with Kurt Trappler.
Trappler.
He's the one that talked me into nursing, right? He's the one that said, have you thought about nursing as a career? Because I did the 2 years of arts and science, and I was looking for a path. Because when I first came to the university, my goal was to get into veterinary medicine. That was where I wanted to land.
Okay.
From the farm to veterinary medicine, that was the goal.
Right. Makes sense.
Because I always loved animals. I was a big animal lover. But I mean, you needed such great marks to get into vet med, better marks than general medicine.
It's the toughest college to get into, I was told, right?
Yeah. And at the time, there was only two. Yeah, only two vet colleges in all Canada. There was one in Guelph and there was one in Saskatchewan. So you had pretty much all of Western Canada vying to get a spot in vet med. Yeah,
and Saskatchewan had X number of seats set aside for it, but those went pretty damn quick. I knew a few people who were in vet med, and those people are actually pretty to a man, they were all exceptional people. So like it was tough getting into vet med. Yeah. But nursing's fine. Nursing's good.
Oh yeah, I've been happy with the path.
Career?
With my career path, yeah. It's been a very good career, nursing.
Yeah.
And I found my little spot within nursing that I quite like. So
what do you practice? How do you practice nursing? What do you do?
When I first started, I'm going to start with kind of the beginning and kind of work my way through it. But I spent 5 years doing a variety of different types of nursing. So I started in psychiatry. I did about 3 years of psychiatric nursing in a few different facilities. I worked at Saskatchewan Hospital in North Battleford. It was one of my first jobs.
Wow.
Working in the forensic unit, right? So doing intake for people that were
under investigation or
brought in by the law, under investigation. Yeah, basically.
Or brought in by the law.
Yeah. So they were there for assessment before their court dates, actually.
Right.
They bring them in for assessment prior to court dates and decide if they were mentally fit to stand trial.
That'd be interesting.
Determine if they have a true mental illness. I mean, there's those that fake mental illness to try to fool them. And, but yeah, that was an interesting time, like in my nursing career. And I've always had a fondness for psychiatry and for psychiatric nursing. Worked a little bit at Hampton as well, a little bit at the Regional Psychiatric Center, so federal corrections as well, and City Hospital psychiatry as well. That was all within the first 3 years of my nursing career. A little bit of psychiatry. Then I thought, oh, I'm going to lose some of my other nursing skills if I don't get back into the hospital setting. So then after 3 years of psychiatric nursing, I went and I did a little bit of orthopedics back in the day when St. Paul's Hospital had an orthopedics floor. Spent some time doing orthopedic nursing, and a little bit just for a short stint on cardiology services at RUH on 6,000. And then I got into what I'm currently doing, which is the nursing supervisor role. So in 2002, I joined a different department. Actually, the department's gone through a number of name changes, as a lot of things do in the health region.
Sure.
But yeah, the department I'm in currently is now called System Flow. And I'm a nursing supervisor, is the general layman's terms for what we're called. And we were just recently patient care supervisors. Now we're the System Flow coordinators, to go in what title that goes better with our department name, I guess. Yeah. But
so System Flow is like just sort of how like, what's System Flow? Because I'm interested in that.
System Flow is all about patient flow and movement within the building, right? So I'm the guy responsible for the patients in ER, signing beds for those patients, looking at the OR slate, making sure those patients that are on the OR slate get beds within the hospital. So
somebody's watching that path of the individual that's kind of working their way through the medical treatment that they're getting at the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Patients, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving the patients around the hospital to best make it fit within the system, getting kind of focusing on the sicker ones in emerge, making sure they get a bed, not forgetting ICU and critical care, like ICU and CC moves, and making sure that those patients have a home. When the critical care areas become tight, then we have to focus on that and making sure that they have space within the hospital setting. So it's all about that patient flow and movement, and just keeping things going and making the most of the beds that we have, because there's never enough beds. Yeah.
Nope, never will be. I don't know. It's always been that way.
There's always patients knocking on the door.
Yeah, you always find room for that. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so we had a nice little career in nursing past 30 years almost. Well, 20. How many? Yeah. When did you graduate nursing?
In 1997, I graduated nursing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've been doing that ever since. So that's pretty good. I would be remiss not to mention our adventures in the mountains of BC together.
Yeah, tree planting adventures.
You recruited me as a tree planter that summer of 1995.
Yeah, I did that for four summers. It was a good way to earn some extra funds for university.
Oh, you were a demon planter, Ted. Like you were hardcore, man.
Growing up on a farm, and you have that same farming background, right? So you learn the value of hard work. I had actually pulled some older photos from tree planting. You might be asking about tree planting. I'm not sure if you want me to share that with everybody, but I found one of you and one of me kind of in the planting years. If you're,
I have some too. There's some that are definitely not safe for work. But
this is not that bad, actually. These are pretty tame for the most part.
I know I was skinny back then because I lost probably 40 pounds, I think, my first year tree planting. You're just sweating. And it wasn't because it wasn't eating. Yeah. I was eating a ton, but you just, your metabolism.
You work so hard, right? With those trees on your side bags and in your back bag, you're loaded up. I don't know how many pounds we've been carrying on our back, but we carried a lot of pounds of trees.
Well, you do 1,000 trees a day. And we always, for whatever reason, we're our good friend Ryan Hangs. Hi, Ryan. You better be watching this.
Ryan, yeah.
Hanger was our foreman, and he liked to bid on those projects that had a little more challenge to it because it was higher dollar value per tree, paid per tree, and so we didn't do all the easy stuff. He always tried to find these little ones where actually had a little bit more money if we could actually work our butts off and do pretty well. So climbing up those mountains where it was a pain in the ass. Like that was hard work. And actually that didn't bother me so much. What I didn't like about it, Ted, was running down the hill so you plant up the line, then you plant across at the top, and you kind of plant down like this. When you're done a bag, you run down, fill up a bags,
go back up again,
plant up a line, and go back and like this, right? So running down, like when you don't have any trees, you're not making any money. So you have to hustle it down back to the truck.
Yeah, I tried to plant it so that I work the top a bit, and then I plant it so that when I come down, still planting trees on the way down.
Right.
And hopefully, if you did it right, and if you planned it just perfectly, you end up right back at your cache where your trees are,
and you're loading very few trees left, if any.
Yeah, exactly. That was always my goal. I was always about making the most money I could every day.
Oh yeah, but running down was always, I found that tougher than climbing up, and I have really bad knees, and it did a number on my knees, and so I did it for 2 months my first year, and then I went back another year. I don't think you were there. We weren't there together for my second year. I think you were done by then. 96.
Yeah, because I did 4 years and then I quit, and
I went back with Hanger again the second year. And
and I think Ryan. I only had Ryan as a foreman 1 year.
Oh, okay. So yeah, then I
I had
had
Rob Seaman. First 2 years I was with a company called Tawa.
okay. Yeah.
And they're all of those companies were out of Prince George, of course. But
Yeah.
I was with Rob Seaman, was the first foreman I had. For a couple of years, I was with him under Tawa, and then Tawa went under. They went under, and then I can't remember the next company I was with, but Leland. I'm not sure if you remember Leland. Or maybe
so Leland planted with
Leland
me my second year. So Hanger recruited him. Yeah, I know Leland. He's great. He's a comedian. I'm gonna have him on here one of these days.
Yeah. I have a video of Leland's at home here too, like one of his acts. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, So I was gonna mention, I think you knew him, and he's buddies with Hanger.
Yeah, so I played with him for a bit, and then jumped over to Hanger's crew and played with Hanger.
Yeah, and there's two guys. Jeff Finley was at on our crew.
Scott from New Brunswick.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was a rock star. And then
there was like a combination of Saskatchewan boys and New Brunswick boys out there.
Okay. Scotty Alberts was there, and just it was a really good crew. It's a great way to spend a summer. Really, like the money's one thing, but honestly, just hard work and spending time in the mountains and with a bunch of young guys and just having fun. Like it was hard work. Like you don't seem to be enjoying it when you're there, but then you come back, it's like, man, that was a fun summer. That was a crazy summer. So I definitely did not regret my time in the mountains. I wish I would have probably worked hard. I did another season too. I did another May and June, but my knees by then were just, I couldn't do it anymore. Like it was just, I was hoping to do the summer, but I was like, it hurts too much. So I had to quit after that. So poor knees, man, poor me, making excuses and all that. So anyways, so that's how we know each other, through residence at the university. And then, you studied nursing, and you're a representative on the students, the Voyager Place Residents Association, which I joined shortly after.
When I was in the college university too, I also joined I was a U of S representative for the College of Nursing for a couple years as well. So
that's right, you were. And were we not on there at the same time, or?
Perhaps, yeah. Were you with the College of Engineering?
I was VPRA is what it was. And then then I was on the Students' Union executive for a few years too. Although I did a few other things too. I was always elected. I got elected to something every year. I didn't focus on my studies too much. I was a student politician.
I think that was a problem too. Partially why I didn't get into vet and med. I was too busy having fun instead of like studying hard.
Oh man, it's so good. Well, anyways, so it's good seeing you, and it's nice thinking back to the great times we had, tree planting and all that kind of stuff too. And hopefully got some friends here that are watching, some mutual friends, because
and I actually
good buddies.
Yeah, one of the people I still see too from university years and from Sask Hall is Colin Hirschfeld. Yeah, so I still stay in touch with Colin. We still Colin, from time to time. So yeah.
I don't think anybody else. Jason Zerberg, I see. Remember him? He's a Kelsey guy.
A little bit, yeah. I can sort.
And Brad Peterson. Remember Brad Peterson?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember Brad. Yeah.
So yeah, we're still friends. We still hang out. I live in Calgary, hey. So there was a crew of us. So Kundal and Kranitz and Bones McCarg, David McCarg, if you remember him, and then Zerberg and Peterson. We played ball together, we played hockey together and stuff. So
they all moved up to the Calgary area as well then.
Yeah, and I moved away. We had a good party days back in our 20s, and then I kind of I got married. We all got married, and then kind of you know how that happens. We just sort of focus changes and they move away. Then I moved back to Saskatoon. So I try to see them every once in a while. I'm actually going to see Bolian. It's in a couple of weeks. We're going to go. We try to just do a boys' weekend once a year together.
For a while, all three of my siblings were right around that Calgary area. Two are still out there.
I love Calgary, but I found it too big. And like when we got married, I was like, well, we're gonna have kids, and it's like, well, we're gonna have to get a house out in the middle of nowhere or someplace small. And I was like, well, but moved to Saskatoon, a little cheaper, and it takes you 15, 20 minutes to get anywhere in the city.
I like that about the city, yeah.
And then we also, Amber's mom has a cabin up at Iroquois Lake, near Blaine Lake.
I've never been there.
And it's just north of Blaine Lake, near Shell Lake, I guess. And it's just a beautiful waterfront little cabin and beautiful little spot. And so we said, well, if we move back here, we know what we're going to be doing in the summertime. And that's what we did in the summertime. Every weekend we're up there and I take 2 weeks, and this is me. I just sit in the water with my beer and that's all I do.
Hang out.
Just the best thing.
Just relax.
It's a little bit of paradise for me. That's all I want to do. And then I go catch a nap on the couch and read a book.
Beach life lake life is so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, and you're
took
from.
Took up paddleboarding recently.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's
yeah,
good. That's good exercise.
It was it's fun too. It's so relaxing. Like usually it's on the river, the South Saskatchewan, just kind of paddling along South Saskatchewan. I had a really good friend that got me into paddleboarding. She's amazing. Kind of has 2 paddleboards, so I didn't even have to buy my own paddleboard. It's just like hers. Go and hang out on the river. And
I'm gonna buy a little kayak. I don't like my kids have kayaks, and there's sort of smaller, cheaper kayaks that are cabin, but I'm too big for them, and I sit.
Yeah.
Too deep in the water, like an inch on either side. I was like, this isn't good. So this summer I've been putting it off the last 3 summers. I'm going to buy a nice big kayak, and that's my next hobby I'm going to do. It
would be fun too.
Just go around those nice warm evenings, or early morning, when it's really nice and calm. Just go around the lake a bit.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of canoeing, but never kayaking. One of those things I'm thinking I wouldn't mind trying. But I mean, I was the first time paddleboarding, I was petrified for about the first 5 minutes. I was like, I was actually just kneeling on the board and just paddling on my knees because I was afraid actually because I've never learned to swim, right? So, but I had the life jacket on, which was good. Yeah, but growing up on the farm, my dad was all about there's too much to be done. My mom wanted to get us swim lessons, so it was like, but my dad's like,
I remember that about you though. Yeah, I do. Yeah, for sure.
So I never learned to swim. But I overcame the fear of being on the river and on lakes, and I'm fine. I jumped off a boat in the lake with the life jacket on.
Yeah, hold you up fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. You don't have to do anything. That's the best part about it.
That's right. You just hang out, float.
Yeah. Well, so that's great catching up with you. That it's so nice to talk about this kind of stuff. I do want to get into the fact that you're an artist. And you always had that bit of an artist sensibility, Ted, didn't you? Like, did you not? Like, I think you were pretty good at. You were really good at drawing. I think you were always had really cool drawings in university.
Yes, second year university, I took a drawing class from Bill Epp, who's like a renowned Saskatchewan sculptor, an artist, and so I took a class from him in drawing, which was quite entertaining, quite fun. I learned a little bit more about drawing that I didn't know prior to going into that class. So
you were good at
it, and from a young man, a young boy, I was like always into art. Like I was always creating, whether it was with Legos as a child or scribbling in my notebooks, like right from grade school all the way up through high school. Like any notebook I had drawings and sketches and little things on the side when the teacher was talking and I didn't have to write anything important down. I was drawing. Yeah, that was just my thing. It was just what I did. I just always drawn to art.
Yeah,
interested in art.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you did that just as one of your course electives, I take it, in university that you did, and because you were interested in it, but also it was just sort of your little introduction into sort of art, learning about it, arts education.
And then I took art a little more seriously after I graduated from the College of Nursing. I lived in an apartment for a couple of years before I was married, and while we were engaged, living in an apartment, I took up acrylic painting. I got in acrylic painting, a little bit of drawing too, but mainly acrylic painting. Just trying that out, trying landscapes, trying abstract painting with acrylics, watering down the acrylics to make them look like watercolors. Just kind of having fun with painting for a spell. But as soon as we moved into our first house, we bought a house in 1999, I guess it was, later 1999, and moved in, and then immediately I got into sculpting. Like it was one of those things where I just transitioned. Like
that's cool.
So I got a book from McNally Robinson on hand building with clay. Went to the local pottery supply place, which was called Tree at the time. Went to Tree, got my first box of clay, opened up the book, cracked the book open, and then I taught myself how to work with clay and how to sculpt with clay. So I've taken a few, like I'm a member of the Saskatoon Potters Guild, have been a member of the Saskatoon Potters Guild since 1999 as well. As soon as I started working with the clay, I thought, it'd be nice to be a member of a guild and learn something, right? Because the Saskatoon Potters Guild is a great organization. It's a nonprofit organization, but it has all skill levels, right? So you can go to the guild as a working member, you can talk to other members, you can learn tips and tricks about how to work with clay and how to make pieces. And at this point, I've been strictly a hand builder. I've never learned how to use a pottery wheel.
Okay.
It's on the to-do list down the road, but there's so much you can do with hand building right now. That yeah, and it's more freedom. There's more freedom and more creativity with hand building than with the wheel.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot less limits on what you can do hand building, really, if you wanted, with
Pretty much the sky's the limit.
like if you can do that. So like, yeah, so then you, like pottery, you use you do it and you put a glaze on it or whatever you do, and then you have to throw it into a kiln. You got to get a kiln or something like that for
kiln. Yeah. So the and the Potters Guild, the Saskatoon Potters Guild, also have kilns. So we've actually 3 rooms in the Potters Guild. There's a room for where you make your pieces, called the working members room, in which we have wheels and we have tables for hand building. We have other equipment like a pug mill, which reclaims clay. There's like a slab roller. And I do a fair bit of slab building too. I guess the main thing I do is something called pinch pot technique. So if I'm making an apple or a pear, which that's kind of my mainstay, that's where I started. That's where I started sculpting. And I thought, well, what's an easier thing to sculpt than an apple or pear? Super simple, super easy to sculpt. And it just took off from there. Like I had such interest in these apple and pear sculptures. And I don't know what it was now, maybe 10 years ago, I got into I had this idea. I thought to myself, well, I do metal work, I do metal sculpture, and I do clay sculpture, but for the most part, they were kind of kept separate. And then I had this epiphany that I want to be able to combine the 2 mediums and do more of that, because there's people that do pottery and clay sculpture. There's people that do metal sculpture. It's rare to find somebody that's doing both.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to combine those 2 loves of the clay and of metal and kind of put them together. So now most of my pieces kind of have a combination of the 2 elements in them. I mean, I still do some pieces that are strictly clay or some that are strictly metal, but I like the uniqueness that I can create something quite different and something that you don't really see anywhere else by combining the 2 mediums.
Yeah, I find, I was going to ask you about that, and for sure that, just so you start off with pottery, but you also work metal separately, like as a sort of another art form. So when you're working metal, you're at home taking metal and bending it and stretching it, and like I think it's this.
Well, yeah, I'm more of a power tool kind of guy. So I'm not like the old school blacksmith. I don't have a forge, and I don't have like the old school method of like heating up the metal and pounding it with a hammer and bending it in shape. I'm more like using my angle grinders. I use a cutting torch to heat the metal and bend the metal. That's what I'm doing with or I use like a little map gas torch. To heat the metal. Like if I'm doing a pear stem, since that is like smaller rod and stuff, you don't need a full torch to heat the metal. You can just use a little tiny like those little propane canisters. You get something called map gas, which burns hotter than propane gas, for those that might not know what map gas is.
I didn't know that.
Just another
Oh, that's pretty cool. And then you need a little spot welding or whatever it is to
I said a little MIG welder, wire feed welder. So
I don't really know.
Whereas if you're more of a blacksmith, you're forging 2 pieces of heated metal together and joining, or you're putting in rivets and you're pounding those rivets together to join the 2 pieces of metal. I'm more about the welding and I'm more new school, I guess. I'm not old school when I create a piece of metal sculpture.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it allows you to be a little more flexible what you're able to do, and not, helps you without spending too much time on that sort of metal working part of it, and just more focusing on the creation of it all.
And the creation, exactly, yeah. I'm more freeform. Like I'm not the kind of artist that does a lot of maquette making. I mean, on the odd occasion, I might make a little sketch or drawing of what I want to create. For the most part, it's kind of freeform. I start cleaning up and that's the one thing I do too, is I love reclaiming metal. I like taking old metal that's all rusted out, reclaiming it and bringing it back to life, making it into something new and different, and giving it life again, basically.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I look at some of the art that you did there too. Again, you're making the pieces that you have behind you. It's pretty clear. It's very organic looking. It's sort of a tree with some fruit on it, or a plant with that fruit on it, and you do those nice, beautiful pears, ceramic pears, right? And you put a little metal tip on, stem on it, and those types of things are really cool. But I've also noticed that you started getting very, very abstract with the metals, that, especially all the pieces that you've been making, right? And well, let's talk about your Disker series that you've had there. So if people,
the Disc Blade series.
So what's a Disker? Tell the people who aren't farmers.
Oh, right, yeah. So Disker, what's the easiest way to describe a Disker blade? I mean, it's a circular piece of metal.
It's a disc
that is convex on one side and concave on the other, right? And I remember back in the day when I was a young child on the farm, my dad had a Disker blade seeder. That's what we had for cedar, right?
Yeah, we had one.
So you have a line of Disker blades, right? And then you have tubes feeding down in between those Disker blades where the seed is distributed, right? So the Disker blades are churning up the soil, the seed's falling down into that freshly churned soil, and then I'm not sure if that's the best way to describe it. But
and you pack it down and pray to God. So you have all these little discs. And then a few, I don't know how many disc would be on a Disker, like a few dozen, or I don't know.
That's a good question. Yeah.
So, but then you went and got. So you found a bunch of Diskers, for example, somewhere.
Some even from my family farm. Actually, some of those came from my family farm.
Yeah.
From other scrap metal yards, from people I knew that knew I was looking for Disker blades. They would, I've gotten it from a number of different sources. But I mean, really, it's a slice of the farming history. Really, it's part of our heritage. The other thing I've done too is with clay is I've made slab built grain elevators. I've done a lot of those. I'd say about a dozen pieces, which I sell those out at the Mackenzie Art Gallery in Regina. They're kind of the exclusive carrier of my elevator series. But I've also done grain elevators. But yeah, the Disker blade series is so much fun. Just playing with the materials and playing with different thoughts and ideas. Still so much more I want to do. I've created 14 of those pieces so far. Sold 4 so far, 14.
Yeah. So where else do you get your metal from? Where do you find your scrap metal?
I used to get a pile from Inland Steel, but for a number of years now, you're not allowed into the yard, and it's a big safety risk, I guess, right? Big liability for Inland Steel. Probably let people in because they all through their workday, they always had the big equipment running, and I think they probably had some close calls of those coming in and looking for metal and rummaging around the scrap pile while the machines are working. And so now you're not allowed in there anymore. I made a few new connections, but there's a fellow by the name of Darcy up at Hub City Metal in the north end of town, not far from the north end Costco. Hub City is. And so he comes with you through the yard, and he'll walk you through the yard, and you can kind of look through and find what you need, right? So
really, do you have something in mind that you're looking for, or you just see metal?
Sometimes it's just I mean, a lot of times I'm looking for something very specific, and then sometimes when I'm looking for that specific thing, I'll find other items while I'm there rummaging through too. But there's certain things that I look for regularly, like solid rod. I'm always looking for different sizes of rod because behind me, that tree branch that's made with different metal rod that I'm tapering in a bench vise to make it look like a branch shape, right? And welding all the pieces together to make it look like a full tree or a full branch. It's
probably pretty useful type of metal, right? The metal rod.
Very much, especially for what I'm doing.
Things with it, right? Or as a frame or a stand or whatever.
And have that. And the metal rod you also see in those Disker blade series too, that where I'm using like a framework on top of the Disker blade and creating kind of basically a sculptural form on top of the Disker blade.
That's
complement it.
That's really cool. Another piece I noticed there, you had a couple, at least a couple that I saw, and maybe you have more than that, but it was sort of like a sun, you have sort of a what's the metal behind it? Again, it's a mixed medium.
Yeah, so that piece features 2 types of metal. So I have like sheet brass behind the part. So it's actually a clay tile with a circle cut out of it to represent the sun. Yeah. And in that cutout where the circle is for the sun, there is a piece of sheet brass behind the tile.
Yeah, it just pops right out. It's pretty. It's kind of really cool because it's 3-dimensional, literally 3-dimensional to look at, and the sun's kind of set back a little bit in this little brass.
I use the angle grinder to grind the brass to give it that shiny kind of.
The clay that you did there with that, so that's a clay that you would have molded and put together yourself. Do you reclaim clay at all, or those types of materials?
I don't usually reclaim clay because it takes time to do the reclaiming. I just usually any scraps I have left over from projects, I usually throw into the scrap bin at the Potter's Guild. And let others reuse that clay. Because it's time consuming. We have something called a pug mill, right? So you take those scraps of clay after they've been in this big barrel of clay with water. It's a mix of like scrap clay with water. And you take that soggy clay and you put it through something called a pug mill, which then grinds the clay and mixes it up. It's kind of like a meat grinder. It's like a meat grinder for clay. It's a clay grinder. It's a clay grinder is what it is. And then so it comes through and then you have to put it in these like plaster bats to dry it a little bit. And it's a lot of work to reclaim clay.
Right.
And that's why I don't do it. And being a full-time nurse and a part-time artist, when I have time to work on my art, I don't want to be reclaiming clay. I want to be actually making something.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
like
I don't do that. But the tiles themselves, it's like, it's either I hand roll them, get a couple of like wooden slats, the thickness that I want my tile to be, and with a rolling pin, just roll that clay out into that even thickness to make a tile. Or we have what's called a slab builder at the Potter's Guild, where it's like 2 rollers, and then you just change the distance between the 2 rollers.
Oh, okay, sure.
To alter the thickness of your clay.
Right.
And you roll out a slab, and then I can take and I can cut that slab into whatever size I want, right?
Yeah.
And resize that tile. So yeah, like I do a lot of like custom handmade tiles.
Yeah, the guild must be such a wonderful resource to have then. Like, it just saves so much time. You learn so much on all the tools that they have available for you. Must be very.
A lot of the stuff I wouldn't have in mind. Like, I would never have access to slab roller on my own if I would never. Being a full-time nurse and a part-time artist, I probably would never expended the money to buy a slab roller because they're not cheap. But to be a member of the guild and have the access to the slab roller, we also have something called an extruder too, which I've used the extruder a little bit too. That's kind of almost like a meat grinder in a way too for clay, but different. It's like it's a different kinds of dies. So you can have a circular die, square dies. You can have a tube-shaped die. But you put it in the extruder, and then you put your clay in the tube, and you have this big handle, and you pull down on the handle, and it pushes the clay through the die into a certain shape. So
I had Play-Doh. I know exactly what that's like.
So same it's
the same thing, right?
Yeah,
for sure. But it again saves you time and just sort of it gives you that precision of what you're looking for, the size of die that you need, and gives you exactly what you're looking for, and just allows you to kind of again focus on the art rather than
different way to play,
with
right?
a
different
process.
Way to play, different way to put things together.
Focus on the creation of where it's going to go. So
I like that combination sometimes of using extruded clay with the hand building that I'm doing and putting the two together.
So you're part-time, but you're still what you could call a professional artist, right? Like, you do get your pieces into galleries and
there's 4 galleries in the province that carry my work currently. So here in Saskatoon, the Saskatchewan Craft Council Boutique Gallery. I've been juried in both metal and clay for the Saskatchewan Craft Council, so they show both mediums at the gallery there.
Cool.
And then in Regina, I'm in 2 galleries, in the Mackenzie Art Gallery gift shop in Regina, and in Traditions Handcraft Gallery in Regina. And then down in Moose Jaw, I'm in the Yvette Moore Gallery.
Oh, okay. Wow. Geez. Because I want one of those, now that you mention it, I kind of want one of those grain elevators too now.
They're so much fun. I'll have to show you some images of those sometime.
I'll definitely going to put a picture of those up on here for sure. But maybe next time I'm in Regina, I'll go sneak into the Mackenzie and see if there's any left there. So
I think they're sold out. It's on the list of to-dos. The one thing I find with 4 galleries and being part-time at this is that I never seem to have enough stuff. There's more demand than I have time to create for, which is a good thing to have.
That's a great thing.
Great thing to have. Yeah.
But still, you kind of want to also feed the demand as much as you can too, right? So
exactly. Yeah.
And it's kind of difficult to do that right now with your work. But you've been there a long time. I think you mentioned before how you were gonna hopefully take a retirement at some point.
I'm hoping actually possibly as early as 4 years from now. I just turned 49 this January.
Don't seem that old, man. You don't look that old.
And then at 53, I can actually take early retirement from nursing at 53. So my goal, if the finances are all working, then I'm going to be going full-time artist at that time in my life. So
I think that's a wonderful idea that if that's a really great goal to have, I think, to go. And again, I know a few people retired and then they don't know what the hell they're doing with their lives, and you actually have a nice little second life after your work. Available to you, if it does work out for you, and even if you have to wait a few more years, it's still, you still have that kind of going for you, and so you can kind of hit the ground running. Then you have a plan to go, and you're not just going to go sit and read a book, and maybe you'll do a bit of that, but
I will do a little bit of that for sure.
But you're going to have some time to focus on this and maybe prioritize your time a little bit differently and work few days a week or however long you want to do it on this art, and then maybe work on your marketing too, or materials.
I've actually been working on a web page right now. I mean, when COVID first hit, I made my own web page. I did a lot of YouTube videos on how to create a website. Ended up going with WordPress, but it's more complicated than I thought, and there's a lot more to know than with web design than I thought. So, but I'm learning as I go, and I still like watching videos, and I'm revamping my webpage right away because I'm not happy with how it currently is set up. So yeah, I'm gonna revamp that, make it a little bit more professional. Really, just looking for a more professional look.
Yeah, you want to be able to connect to your potential market and to people to share your work, essentially, and just make it sort of convenient for people. People have those expectations nowadays with the the social media being what it is. You have to be able to cater to that and be able to provide your product, available to them, in a lot of ways that doesn't, harass people. You have to have a good modern website. Unfortunately, people have to take you seriously. It's so stupid, right? Like,
and I've definitely been more active on the social media the last 4 or 5 months. I've been really kind of absorbed in
I noticed
Instagram
that.
and Facebook and doing posts and trying to get my work out there and seen a little bit and try to create a bit of a following. But yeah, the next step is with the web pages. I've been watching some videos on SEO, just barely touching the surface on what I need to know about SEO for websites to drive that traffic into the website.
Yeah, for sure. I had a really good talk. I don't know if you saw my conversation I had with Billy Ray Busby. She was Billy Ray Sparrow. Billy Ray Sparrow, remember her? She was in Res with us. So she was the first year with me.
That's actually one name that doesn't ring a bell. Sorry, I don't remember her.
This is her painting right here.
Oh, really?
So she does these wonderful abstract called hard edge landscaping, and she's out of Calgary now, and
I like
she
that
just
look.
It's amazing. Like, this is just a small little painting, the only one I could afford. And well, I
probably some larger pieces. Hey,
she does some amazing work, and you have to check out. And I encourage others to check her out too. But again, she's just a local artist, and she was laid off essentially from her job during the in Calgary when everything went kaput there. And then so the last couple of years, I guess, she decided, you know what, I love painting. I love this. I'm going to try to do it full time. And so she's trying it full time, and she finds it's really fun. It's interesting because it's she has a lot more time to do it now. Whereas like she get commissioned to do some work, and then she has to take her holidays. But she's like, I want to spend time with my kids and my holidays, and like it's she needs a break too. Like that's what holidays are for.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of you know how it is, right? It interrupts your
full-time job and then trying to do art on the side.
So then now that she has that, she finds just so much more experiences that she's been able to do and focus on, collections and commissions, right? And I think she's making a go at it. She's working hard, and again, she's reaching the audience. She has a little newsletter. I'm a member of her newsletter, so whenever she has stuff for sale, like that's where I got this. I saw this. I'm going to buy it. Looks great, and so it's unfortunate, but that's a big part of the job is the hustling.
It is, putting yourself out there, letting people know what you have, and
So I'm glad you're doing that. Anyways, I think that's great, and you're going to figure it out.
And definitely Facebook's worked for me, because actually one of the sales of one of my disc blade pieces was to somebody from my hometown. Actually, she was on Facebook and seeing my work and seeing that disc blade series as they were coming out. And there was one piece that she really that she was quite interested in, so she reached out to me, and she's actually now in Nova Scotia. So that piece shipped out to a little place called New Glasgow, Nova Scotia.
New Glasgow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Nova Scotia city.
Totally does, yeah.
So there you go. You're actually coast to coast now. So
it's kind of interesting. And then being in some of the galleries too, like talking to the owners of Traditions Gallery in Regina. About I did a show a little while back called Perched, which was all about birds, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, and they sold one of my pieces to somebody from Scotland. So that was kind of interesting to hear that one of my pieces went over the pond to Scotland. So
transoceanic, that's that's where you are. Well, you don't know where it's going to go, and Billy mentioned in our conversation too, and you probably agree with this too, but she's like, it's really cool because and now that these people that bought your pieces, there's a story behind it, right? There's like your friend from home was like, well, this came from home, like this, or this came from a farm, and this was used to plant seeds and grow food. Like this was actually a thing that and now it's preserved.
Piece of art,
that's in this sort of in a new way and serving it has a second life to it. So it's not just some poster that you bought in Place Real Student Center where there's not that there's wrong with those posters.
The same poster, yeah, exactly.
It's fine. I had all those posters, but this here is a work of art,
and it's one of a kind.
It's one of a kind. I know who did it. I know why she did it. And I talked to her afterwards. This one here is from my uncle.
I love that piece.
He passed away a few years ago. He's old. He's the kind of guy that did. He did everything. That guy was amazing. He just taught himself how to paint.
And I noticed that piece in other podcasts you were doing too. I noticed the barn right away. It just popped out of.
That was in my basement of my farmhouse, and I grew up with it. So Uncle Keith, a lot of my family relatives have his pieces, and they're like my aunts and uncles and cousins. They're all over the place. It
seems like in most families, there's somebody in the family that's an artist, right? There's always somebody that has that talent or that draw for artwork. And
then in 2020, our house burnt down. It was a pretty tragic fire. Well, my brother passed away in the fire, and but the Christmas before, we were there, and I was like, I want this painting. I want it for my basement. I want it in my house because it was my basement I grew up in. And it was a big part of my life. It's like, I want that in my basement now. It's part of my life. And now it's on all my little podcasts. Yeah. So there's a story behind that too. And to me, now that's an heirloom for me, right? Mm-hmm. So when you buy these original pieces of art from, say, a local artist or whoever, but like there's almost always some sort of story that could be told. And I think that's amazing. And it's tangible. And that's it. Oh, I was going to tell you this. Yeah. Looking at some of those, again, the metal ceramic sculptures that you have on display there, like I just want to touch them. They're very tactile, you know what I mean? I just want to feel the rough edges and then to feel the ceramic, and I want to see the grinding, I want to kind of move it around and see how the light reflects off of it. That's when I want to do that. And with your art, that's really cool because, again, very three-dimensional, I find, and it really comes out at you. And then, so if you look at a different angle, it looks a little different.
Different, exactly. As you're moving around the room, exactly. Yeah. And then it changes,
So, and you have little stories to tell. And I think that's really cool that what you're doing, you're telling little stories and then you're sharing with other people. And then they have a story to tell. And then they'll keep it. So these pieces are going to stay with me wherever I go, if I move out houses or whatever it is. Or maybe my kids will take it someday. I don't know. Someday they'll have it and they can tell the story as well, behind it as well, too. So, yeah, I'm looking more and more of these original art from local people that, and like I'm not a rich guy, but I can afford art.
I think and I always like that's when I'm on vacation, when I'm like in Halifax, Nova Scotia, or if I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia, I'm looking for the local art. Like I always try to bring home a piece of art wherever I go. I'm trying to bring home something back to my home from that place that I've been, right? And so I'm always looking for local artists' work. That's what I want. I don't want to go to Nova Scotia and buy a piece from an artist in France. I want to find the local artists and bring that piece home with me, and then it means more, right? It's something from your vacation that's from that area of the country that you just visited. So
yeah, and that's what the galleries are for, right? So you go to the galleries and they've been curated by someone, and then so somebody knows who created it, when, and that sort of thing. And I know galleries try to find as many, whatever kind of variety they want to have in the curation to share with patrons. So,
and I was even like going to like this last summer, I went to Vancouver Island and to Salt Spring Island. Sure. Actually, on my journeys through Salt Spring Island, went to a number of different artists' studio spaces, like in the studio space, seeing their work firsthand. And there's this amazing artist in Salt Spring Island I bought a piece from this summer by the name of Sean Goddard. He does these wonderful little insects using fused glass, and I believe the metal is copper. But yeah, it's like these, and you can hang the bug on the wall, or they can be freestanding, and it's so cool. And I've always had an interest in insects, I guess, and so,
sure, but that's
not for everybody. But I mean,
I would never have thought of making something like that, though. Like me. So I think that's cool that he did that. I think that's amazing.
I've done a few insect sculptures too through the years. I've done like a couple different spiders and an ant, and I don't know. There's something about insects that are kind of interesting too.
I get a question for you. So, like, thinking of copper, but also with steel that you use or whatever else you use too. Like, the issue with those ones, of course, is corrosion that occurs, right? So, do you treat the sculptures with some sort of sealant?
Yeah. So all my sculptures get like a clear coat on top of it. So a layer of basically clear coat spray paint or clear coat
So if there's like rust on it, but like that rust isn't going to expand or grow. It's just going to be all
exactly, yeah. Because I mean, like for let's just take my disco blade series for example. So the disco blade, often I'm leaving that to be the natural rustic color, and then doing a metal framework on top of that that's like round and shiny and looking new. So a combination of that old metal with the new metal, but that it's all clear coated after it's done. So the rusty disco blade is a clear coat on. So I mean, when you touch something, if you pick up a piece of rusty metal that's been on the ground outside for a while, you get that powdery rust on your hands, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to get that when you touch my sculptures because of the clear coat on the surface. And I'm using about 3 or 4 layers of clear coat to really give it a good.
It preserves it, stops the corrosion, and
exactly. Yeah.
Probably makes a little. Well, it stops the corrosion and all that is what it does, and you want to sort of capture that moment of where it is in its life, and like a mosquito and amber in dinosaur times, a little snapshot of where this piece of metal is in its lifetime. So okay, I just don't want the client's hands getting dirty. Like I don't want to like have like a rusty sculpture and then like they're done handling it, because if you touch rusty metal, you know how it is, right? Your hands are full I know.
Yeah, so this is a way that it's just a nicer finish.
My old work jeans, man, it was covered in metal or covered in rust, from the farm. So, when I worked. So.
Yeah, I find when you paint, when you put the clear coat on too, it gives it a nicer, deeper patina, and I think there's just more depth to it, more warmth, I think, to it too when you put a bit of clear coat over that rust. It brings it to life a bit.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do, right? And then again, that's a completely unique piece of metal in that sense, right? There's no other metal that looks like exactly like that, and you capture that, and there it is. It's there forever, and for someone to have too. Some of this metal, these are pretty significant weight on these things. Like some of them are hanging on walls. Hey, so you really have to have a good stud finder.
Yes, well, that I recommend that, or I actually have 75-pound wall anchors.
You do?
Not that these pieces are 75 pounds, mind you, but I'm a guy that likes to do overkill. If I'm going to put something on the wall, I want it to stay on the wall. So,
I would too. Yeah. But it might be like a 20-pound or whatever it is, like
20 pounds or less probably for these disco blades, but like all said and done, when the pieces are all fully put together, you're around 20 pounds or just under.
That's not too bad.
What the weight is, which then a 75-pound wall anchor. If you want to line up your piece on the wall equally, sometimes you're not hitting the stud, right? If you're someone that wants to have your pieces spread out evenly along the wall, and the stud always doesn't end up where you want it. And I'm pretty particular about how I hang my art, so.
Totally.
A lot of times I'm putting it in, not in the stud, these bigger pieces, but with the 75-pound wall anchor, it stays put. It doesn't go anywhere.
It ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. I almost feel like I should like ship them out with the wall anchor attached to it.
Well, I'd be concerned about that, I guess, because I'm not very handy with my hands, and I've had a few shells collapsed on me in the past, so I'm pretty sensitive to that. Just the way it is. And I think it's sort of a trial and error to learn how to use a wall anchor properly. So I would suggest, reassuring people, you can do this. This thing.
And I actually messaged Pam after I sent the piece out to Nova Scotia. I messaged Pam. I said, Pam, I forgot to throw in a wall anchor. Just make sure you get like a heavyweight 50 to 75-pound wall anchor for it. I said it's overkill, but then it's secure and it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. Actually, those ones are super easy to put in the wall too. Those wall anchors, they're like white plastic ones. You just basically take your hammer, you pound it into the wall, up to the threads, and then you just turn in with a screwdriver, and you're done. And then you put the screw into the right.
It comes back behind the drywall, and the drywall is big enough to support it, right? And just a long. The stronger it is, the more weight it can hold. The longer it is, the more weight it can hold, or whatever it is. So, yeah. Well, I'll have to get one of those anyways. That's okay. That's good. Makes me feel a little better now, though. Yeah. Where are your pieces in Saskatoon? Where galleries do you display?
In Saskatoon right now, just the Saskatchewan Craft Council Boutique Gallery on Broadway Avenue.
On Broadway.
Yeah. And the 2 in Regina and 1 in Moose Jaw.
Yeah, too. Yeah, for sure. And I can always check out your art too. Do you have sales through your website yet, or
for people who want to buy this? At this point in time, but I'm still revamping it. I don't get a lot of traffic yet, and it's partially because I'm still working on that SEO to drive traffic in. So I think once I revamp my webpage, will hopefully be in the next couple months. I'll have it up and running to where I want it to be.
Do you have an inventory though at home for items that that are up for sale right now, or are you sort of like just churning them out and sending them out.
The Disco Blade series at this point in time, like the Disco Blade series, the pieces are quite large wall pieces, right? And this point in time, none of the galleries I work with have the space on the wall.
Of course.
I'm looking, hopefully they sell those once my webpage is up. I'm hoping those will start to move through my website. And any of the larger pieces, I'm hoping those are the ones that I can move through the website.
For sure, yeah.
Because like a lot of the galleries I work with are smaller spaces, right? They don't have a lot of room for the bigger pieces. So
one thing I noticed too, you did a commission of light pendants made out of saw blades.
Yeah. And what's cool with that is, so that was for a local contractor,
right?
Aaron Skopik, and he just bought himself a new house that he's renovating. He was looking for something kind of unique and different. So, and these saw blades that he brought me were saw blades that he used with his contracting business, right? So these are things that he's used to make something for others, right?
To build something.
And I'm taking those blades that he's used to create something, and I'm creating something for him. So I thought that was kind of an interesting project to do, just because of that simple fact.
Yeah. Like, did you know him beforehand, or did he approach you?
No, that was actually, I met him through an ex-girlfriend, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And he brought up, he said, I'm looking for something. And he's like, can you make something with these saw blades? Is that what he asked you to do? And
yeah, well, Jolene kind of, introduced me to him, and then he knew you as an artist. So he's like, and he knew that I was doing metalwork. So he's like, is it possible, he said, to make custom pendant lights? I'm like, well, absolutely it is. Yeah, for sure. So, and then we talked about different ideas. Like I threw a few ideas his way about what I wanted to do. And then he's like, well, I was thinking about using saw blades. What can we do with that? So I did some sketches, a couple of quick sketches, and we decided on the final design, which you can see on my Instagram feed, actually.
Yeah, and it's like a sort of a pyramidal shape, four-sided sort of like hole at the top for the light fixture to go through, and then you still have the blades at the bottom.
Yeah.
And are they still sharp, like saw blades sharp?
A little bit. I mean, they're used saw blades, so they're dulled a little bit from use, but
they handle with care. Then is what that
handle with care, a little bit of care. Yes,
exactly. They look violent and awesome. Like it's, I think it's a great idea to do. I think a lot of home builders actually will probably, because they build so many homes, right? And so they get a lot of really great ideas about what they want in their own home. So when they have a chance to build it, I'm sure they have some things in mind about and then having some sort of unique pieces like that, just to make it their own. They think that'd be kind of a lucrative market, actually. Like I know a few home builders, like everyone who's a home builder has a really nice house with a lot of little features and never would have thought of before, because they learn
just from all the jobs and projects they do. They come up with new ideas, right? Probably their clients are feeding them with different ideas, and they're learning different things as they go. Right?
It was like me. I live in a spec house, and it's kind of boring and stuff, but it's comfortable. But it's very spec. There's not a lot of uniqueness in my house, and
mine too for the most part. But then I fill it with the art, so that's how I make it more unique. It's about the
that is how you make it more unique. Yes, and you have claimed metals that you reclaimed metals as well too that have had a past life, and you're breathing new life into it, which I think is just absolutely wonderful. So. Yeah, it's great. Is there anything else you want to talk about with regard to your art, or anything you wanted to bring up at all?
That's a very good question. Again, nothing comes to mind at the moment. I'll probably think of something afterwards.
That's fine. Yeah. We can always talk again. That's fine. If you actually, do work on a different series, something like that, or if you want to launch your new website, if you have a sort of marketing plan in mind, let me know. We'll talk. We'll revisit some of the stuff you're doing and maybe see where the progress you've made, maybe in a couple of years or something like that. See where we're at. I think that'd be kind of interesting for me, and then maybe other people might find it interesting too. Like again, like my other artist friend, like I found some other my friends were asking me like, where do you find this stuff? I'm like, well, I'll give you your number. It's right here. Like you can call her up, But I really am starting to be I've always loved art and stuff, but I'm finding to be more cognizant of the importance of it as I get older. I think it is. Maybe it is look for that sort of authenticity that our modern world is lacking a little bit, and trying to find these pieces that speak to me a little bit more, and to make my place, like I said, it's kind of a boring house, but maybe I can find little pieces here and there to accentuate it, or
bring some
conversation
and energy,
something, and I don't know what it is, and just have a few empty walls. There's a wall over here. It's all empty. It's a big, huge wall. And I've been waiting to find something on there, and I don't know what I want yet there. But we have a few, and actually another wall in our bedroom, our big wall in the bedroom, nothing on it yet, on one of the walls. And I was like, well, there's no rush.
No, exactly.
I guess my point is,
find the right piece that
right
speaks
piece.
to you, right? That speaks to you, and I mean, beauty is in the eye of beholders, and like, so what you like for art. Yeah, that's one thing I found too. Like having customers, like I'll make something that I'm not very happy with. I'll make something that I'm like, I think I might just want to throw this out, not even like show this to customers, but I'll take it to a show. I'll take it to a show and put it out there and just see what happens. And there's always somebody that's like, oh, I love that piece.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Or I might be excited about a piece that I just created and like, oh, this is great. I'm going to take it to the gallery. And the gallery owner looks at it and they're like, I don't think so. No, not for my gallery. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you take it to the next gallery owner and the next gallery owner feels the same way that you do. They like it. They love it and they want to put it in the gallery. So the love of art is so individualistic. What each person likes is always a little bit different, right? So it's just a matter of finding what you love, putting it on your wall and enjoying it.
Yeah. And again, like I think for me, I think what I need to do more of this, well, talking to you is one thing, but also just getting out there to the galleries a bit more. Just sort of seeing what's out there, even if nothing else, just to kind of browse around and see what suits my taste, and because there's a lot of really nice stuff that's out there, and really unique voices that are out there if you just go and take a few minutes. And now that COVID's over, like I just hated COVID because I'm a very social person, and I hated being cooped up.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah,
like the mask, because the mask really depersonalized you. I hate it. And now I can kind of go out there and actually talk to people like a human being. And I think this is a really good opportunity for me to go, and others maybe, to go and do some walking through your neighborhood, look for some galleries, and even places like restaurants or cafes that sell nice art pieces as well too, that you can go look and find.
And now there's art shows are starting to happen again. Like the Saskatoon Potters Guild just had the annual spring sale last weekend.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's back in swing. Like we were out of commission for a while because of COVID. So it's nice to see that happening again. And there'll be some probably outdoor shows this year again, art shows. I'm doing one actually beginning of August in the Thickwood Hills Studio Trail.
That's where Iroquois Lake is. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of
where would you be there? Like where in Thickwood Hills?
Oh, I can't remember the name of the lake or the one of our members, one of the Saskatoon Potters Guild members that I know, that spot worked for me in the past and has been a member with me in the Potters Guild for many years. Regina, she has a cabin up there, so she was one that invited me out to the Thickwood Hills Studio Trail.
It's in our community. Pebble Bay is the community that we're at on Iroquois Lake.
I have to find out.
There's a lot of the communities there, and people it's crazy weekend.
Actually, that's where I got some scrap metal once too. She invited me. I've been there once, but that was many years ago, where she invited me out to her cabin because they had all the scrap metal kicking around by her cabin. She's like, you can just have it, just come and take it away. So
wow.
So they had a few disc blades up there too. So I grabbed
some of them. Well, let me know when you're going up there and where you're going to, and because
it's August 6th and 7th. Is the dates of the Studio Trail. I'll touch base.
Yeah, there's signs everywhere, and there's all these little people with little pottery shops, little cabin owners, like these people who've been there for a while, and they have their little wood shops or, pottery dens, or I don't know what you call these places, built in. And it's such a wonderful. And Thickwood Hills they're a hidden jewel in Saskatchewan. People don't know about it.
Yes,
I'm actually not supposed to talk about it.
It's a bit. Don't spread it. They want.
Sorry, mother-in-law. But it's like it's kind of weird because it's not like bushland lakes, and it's not prairie lakes. It's sort of that in between. It's a little higher elevation. So you get this beautiful. So you don't get a lot of the pine trees or anything, but you get like a lot of sort of prairies, but you still get a lot of beautiful hills and elevation changes and so many wonderful lakes there. It's just a piece of paradise in that area. Like I really love it there. So the Thickwood Hills has that studio tour trail every summer. I think the second weekend of August usually, and the weekend after the August long weekend, almost always that's when it is.
Yeah, this year's August 6th and 7th this year, yeah.
Yeah, and I see a lot of really great art, and there's people just come in droves.
That's good to hear. That's good.
Well, it annoys us to no end, but although we just kind of we go check out a few of the cabins ourselves too. But let me know where you're going to be, what town it is, and Absolutely. It might be in our town or our village. You never know. So. Or else I could just go rip over there and have a look too. So
actually, it's going to be a very busy summer for art for me because prior to that, on August 1st, so the other organization that another organization I'm a member of is the Prairie Sculptors Association.
Okay.
So the Prairie Sculptors are having an event out at Manitou Beach starting August 1st and running through to August 12th. It's like a sculptural symposium or a get together where we're going to make sculptures as a group. I'm kind of excited about that because I'm going to be probably collaborating with other artists and making pieces with other artists, probably doing a little bit of my own stuff. So I'm going to the first day that it's on, like August 1st through to the 5th. I'll be there, leaving August 5th to start packing, coming home and packing for the Thickwood Hills Studio Trail.
Yeah.
Unpack from that and go straight back out to Manitou Beach to go back to the cultural symposium. So the beginning of August is all going to be all about art for me. The first
totally
10 days, anyways. Yeah.
Until
I go back to reality and work on August 11th. I don't get to do the whole symposium because August 11th I'm back at the hospital for a shift. But
you only have so many holidays, so.
Yeah, only so many holidays, exactly. Yeah.
But no, that's really good. I'm really excited to hear that. I think that's awesome that you're able to find these outlets to share your work, and I like the idea of collaborating with other sculptors.
Oh, that's so much fun. I've done that. That's cool. Yeah, it's always fun, like to talk a piece through with another artist and have see their vision, and it's always fun to see what comes out the other side of those collaborations. But usually it's some pretty interesting pieces. It's fun when you get two people together, and then you may be using different media that you never use. Like I've done collaborative pieces with people that do glass work, and just throwing a different element in the mix, right?
You ever use woodworking with your materials at all? Like, is that
a little bit? Yeah, actually, There's a fellow actually by the name of Urban Morelli, up Morelli, so a buddy of mine who does woodworking, and we did a show with myself, and Teresa Gagne, who's also a ceramic artist, or was a ceramic artist at the time. Teresa's kind of moved more into fabric art right now, but we did a show together called the Trap Show in a gallery, and so the three of us had like a little gallery showing our exhibition.
Well, it's another natural metal or material, right? That would that's its own distinction, right? So
and then Up and I did a couple pieces together in that show, where we're combining the wood and woodworking, and actually in this case I was using ceramics and wood together in a piece. So I know those artists, I always talk about him. He's my favorite guy. He's an Orthodox icon carver. Carves icons and for the church that people. Nice.
And it's beautiful work.
Somebody's got to do it,
Well, I think he was the only one, at least when he started, the only one in North America that did it. There's a bunch of people that were doing. Definitely the only one in Canada. Yeah. There's people in Eastern Europe, obviously, that in Russia they do it, but not here. But it's an ancient art form. But what he likes to do is he doesn't try to change the images in terms of, like, he tries to really stick to the traditional forms, but he adds modern materials into it that aren't normally traditionally used in this type of artwork. So he's not just sculpting and painting, but he's actually incorporating special types of ceramics, metals, rocks, like gemstones, stuff like that you wouldn't normally see. And that's kind of the way for him to sort of modernize,
make it his own
ancient art. Well, like it's
almost like putting a brand or stamp on it. Like, I'm doing it this way. I'm doing something new and unique, and
I think it's a way for him, to kind of experiment and to see what it does. But then also, because he's very, very devout, and he's very into, like, you're doing this. It's almost like a prayer that he does this, right? Is this
spiritual
sort of
form, probably too, right? It's very spiritual.
So he does. I'm careful to say it's about putting himself into it, because he's very about, no, this is for the glory of God, sort of a thing. Yeah. But to make it beautiful, right? And so you can do that with different materials when you're mixing things up and try to experiment it on there. Like, it's, it doesn't mean you have to create something completely unique. You create, like, art that it's very, like, an art, something like this that you're looking at here, but you use different types of materials and create a brand new thing and make it beautiful, but it might be still reflect the form that currently existed on there, and it's still an original piece and makes the world a better place, more beautiful place. So I like that you're doing this mixed material type stuff. I think it's really cool, and it really just opens up so many more possibilities. Like, it's just beautiful. Like, I look at that again, that tree behind you there with its branches and the fruit. Like, it's just so sparse, but then also that life. Like, it's a sort of a weird dichotomy of death and life.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because there's no leaves, leafless. Yeah,
it's like the middle of winter almost, right? But it's beautiful, ripe fruits are right hanging on those trees. Like, that shouldn't be there, but it works, right? So I think that's really cool.
There's a spell in my life actually where I left my nursing supervisor job, went back to the psychiatry field temporarily for about 3 months actually, as a coordinator for the Dubay Center. So I was inpatient psychiatry and as a coordinator for the floor. So it was a Monday to Friday job. It was that Monday to Friday job. I was doing because that's the only stint in my whole career as a nurse where I did 8-hour shifts was that 3 months at Dubay Center. But in that 3 months, I was off on the weekends and doing the Monday to Friday, and I didn't find time for my art. In that whole 3 months, I didn't create a single piece of artwork.
Oh, wow.
And you know, it's such a passion for me, such a love. Like something was missing in my life. Like it was, I couldn't keep going in that job because like I wasn't getting the free time. Because at that time I was married and I had my boys were at school during the weekdays, and my ex was a Monday to Friday person, so they were off when I was off. So and then it became about the family time, which is good. I mean, family time is great, but working 12-hour shifts gives me a lot more free time, right? Because full-time work is 3 shifts a week, and then I'm off a lot of times I'm off during the week, and that was my creative time. Like when the kids were at school and my ex's work, that's when I got to the workshop. That's when I got things done. And creation began to happen, right? Yeah. When I didn't have that, when I was spending that 3 months at the Dubay Center as a coordinator, like, and nothing was being made for art, it was like this emptiness in me, kind of like, it's like this, I had this drive to create, and it has to be that drive needs to be met.
Well, I work Monday to Fridays too, and Saturday's the day that you're running around doing errands, the kids are doing sports, and you're trying to decompress from the week. Sunday's a better day, but it's only one day.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes by so fast.
And then you have to get to bed early and get up in the morning again. So, no, I definitely understand that. I think the 5-day week does put a limit on a person's ability to engage in some sort of creative endeavor, because creation takes that sort of consistency and a bit of time to be able to focus on the work that you're doing. Even a few days, right? Even a few days. Like 3 days, it could probably do something. I have a Monday off, so Sunday, Monday, or Saturday, Sunday, Mondays. Saturday's decompress day. Sunday's like the day I do all my work, and then Monday I can kind of catch up on it. If it's just one extra day, I bet you can do more stuff with that.
Yeah, without this 12-hour shift schedule, I don't think I would have got into art as heavily as I have. Without having those days off and that freedom during the week, I don't think I would have been an artist actually on the side.
Well, good for your 12-hour shift days.
It's a good thing I felt like it's almost like nursing happened for a reason in a way. Like being a nurse might have happened for a reason.
You wouldn't be doing that as a vet med person, as a veterinarian. You know, you'd be working on regular days, right? Chances are. So it's good for you. So, Ted, where do people find your work? Where do you go? Online or
the 4 galleries. People can contact me too directly. Like I've done commissions directly for people, so they can reach out to me at Ted Uchacz T-Uchacz at yahoo.ca, Tuchacz at yahoo.ca.
Okay.
Or go to one of the 4 galleries that carry my work in the province.
Yeah.
Or visit my website and contact me through the contact page of my website, which is actually I use the .art.
Okay.
What's that in part called? Like it's not .com, so it's teduchacz.art. That's my website, teduchacz.art. Yeah.
Okay.
When I saw the .art, I was like, yeah, it has to be .art for me. Love that. Yeah.
And also, you have an Instagram page too, which I just started following today because I only follow the people I actually interview. That's the only people I ever follow on Instagram. And I'll put the links to your website and to those spots below. And also, if people are interested in your work, they can just contact me and I can pass over. If that's all right with you, I'll just pass your number over to them. Or email address, I guess. And so let me know if you guys are interested. Check out his work. I think it's really great. And I think you should support this really beautiful creations that he's making here. We need more of this kind of stuff in our world, and it makes the world just a little less awful. You know?
Especially after this COVID thing.
After COVID, yeah, we can all use a little bit of beauty in our lives. So I think that's good, Ted. What do you think? Is that good?
I think so. Yeah. What are we at for time? Oh, it's for sure. We did it for a different hour and a bit. So
I think we're gonna let you go, and thanks for coming by. And let's get together if you ever want. Go for a cup of coffee or.
Yeah, really good. Definitely.